Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to be here with all of you in this conference about doing good as a mindset. And today with us, we have three amazing entrepreneurs and leaders that I will introduce in a moment. My name is Gidi Grinstein, and I'm probably here because I founded about 6 years ago a not-for-profit venture called TOM, standing for Tikkun Olam Makers. Tikkun Olam, as you all know, is an ancient Jewish concept that calls upon each and every one of us to do what we can in order to make the world a better place. And the idea of TOM is that we saw that there are a lot of human conditions that will never get a market or a government solution. People that have special needs, that their solutions require customization, people that are poor. And therefore, our idea was to create a global platform that allows innovators and product designers and engineers and programmers to come together and to create open source solutions for those who need them. All these solutions will be then made available online so that anybody, anywhere can use them. Actually, our motto is affordable, accessible for anybody, anywhere. And this is the work that we do, initially in Israel, today headquartered out of New York, and have operated in 29 countries in 70 locations, having developed all these communities, we call them together, having developed a pipeline of 595 solutions under development. And our vision is to eventually deliver millions of products using 3D printers all over the world that are often underused. So we are about mass innovation, mass invention around humanitarian needs, and then mass customization of the products all over the world. And with that sort of a brief introduction about myself, I want to move aside and give the stage to the amazing people we have here on board. And I'm going to introduce them very quickly. First, we have Ahmir Lerner from Beit Shapiro. We have Omer from Paratrek, and we have Rami Kirshblum, from Uniper Care. And what I will do in the next few minutes is I will allow each and every one of them to tell their story and share about the kind of mindset that they have, that they bring to their do-good work. So with your permission, I'd like to start with Ahmir Lerner of Beit Shapiro. Ahmir, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, Gidi.
So Ahmir, can you tell us just briefly the story of the venture that you're leading of Beit Shapiro, that is one of the most remarkable organizations in Israel today?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Gidi. A word about myself, which connects to this. I'll say first that I've been to Beit as chief executive for the past year and a half, right before COVID. And before that, I spent 30 years in government positions. And my move to the nonprofit sector was to really be closer to the impact, closer to the people, with the belief that nonprofits can really have a genuine and wide impact, just like Tikkun Olam Makers you just described. And Beit Shapiro is another good example of that. Because in the field of disabilities, we have an annual impact on over 500,000 people. Beit Shapiro is a pioneering leader and innovator in the field of disabilities, providing services, but also exporting technologies and best practices around the world for a more inclusive society. And everything we do, every innovation we look for will always be in order to empower people with disabilities more, to give them really the ability to be active citizens within their communities and societies. And just as a short example, we completed now a series of webinars by our Leadership Center, where people with disabilities from the center came online, talking to people around the world, describing to them how they're creating their own agenda for social change and how they're working in order to make that agenda come true. That's a series of webinars we did together with Harvard University that just completed.
So I can attest to that because my team in TOM, we partnered with you. We went together to Singapore, and the respect that Beit Shapiro professionals get around the world is really outstanding. So it's fantastic. But today we're here to talk about mindset and the kind of mindset that is required in order to do good. So can you say a little bit about the mindset that you bring to your work that you bring to your organization in order to make it such a really a remarkable and outstanding operation?
Well, I'll tell you the mindset that's required of all the employees at Beit Issie, not only of me in the management positions, because we require something which is much more challenging than just being a dreamer and thinking of new innovations and ideas. I think every staff member here has to hold, first of all, a professional mindset. And when working with a child or with an adult with a disability, finding what really is the best way to reach their maximum potential, if it's emotionally, cognitively, and mobility. But that's just one mindset. And the next mindset will be an innovative mindset. Because as we're working together with people with disabilities, we want to see how we can do a little bit better, how we can innovate something small, a methodology, a technology, something which will be better than it was before. So that'll be the second perspective of mindset. And the third and final one will be a mindset of impact. Because now that we've done something better and we've improved on something, how do we create a model out of this that can be applied to as many people as possible and also accessible to as many people as possible? So it's a triple mindset at Beit Issie Shapiro.
Yeah, and I would say, so you spoke about innovation, you spoke about scaling, you spoke about professionalism, but I assume I've been Beit Issie Shapiro that the number one thing that drives people to work with you is actually compassion and the desire to do good with a lot of people. And but you're leading an organization with really global recognition. So can you say a little bit about what it takes? And we only have 1 minute for that, so I apologize. What it takes to build such an outstanding organization?
Well, the number one thing will be culture, and a culture of innovation where people feel free to bring up ideas, but also a culture of transparency where people will always understand why we're going in one direction, not another direction. But in a very important pillar of mindset and being such an organization is having a strong foundation in research and knowledge management. So everything we do is going to be evidence-based. We can show that it actually works. And a third and final part of that will be partnerships. So we'll always be at the leading edge, always be working with leading edge organizations around the world. And the fact that we're a consultant to the UN on the area of disabilities has opened up doors to us and enabled us to work in over 30 countries now around the world in such partnerships.
Fantastic. Really a great story. Ahmir, I'm sorry it's such a short time. We could have spent so much longer, but we do have two other people that we have to squeeze into this short window we have. And next is Omer Tzur. And Omer is leading an organization called Paratrek, which I've known for a long time, but only because of this conversation, I actually dove a little bit deeper into what you do, which is amazing. And I'll say why I feel it's amazing. It's amazing because there is an innovation side, but there is a physical side of helping people, taking them out. So Omer, why don't you share the story of Paratrek and your personal story?
Thank you very much, Gidi. So my personal story, it starts actually 47 years ago when my father, when he was 20 years old, he flew off of his vehicle, landed on his face and shattered 3 vertebrae in his neck. And since then, he's paralyzed from the chest down. And the thing that my lover used to love the most was to go out to nature and hike. And for 35 years after that injury, he couldn't do that. Until in 2008, I decided that we're going for a long trek in Turkey, 500 kilometers in Turkey. And I came to my father and I asked him, and he said, yes, let's do it. But how are we going to do it? And I told him, easy. We're going to do it with a stretcher. And he didn't even finish the word stretcher. And he shouted at me, what do you think I am, a potato sack? And in that moment, I realized that we need to do something different. So we sat down, and I'm going to tell all about it later, but we developed the Trekker, an all-terrain wheelchair that will allow us to go on a non-accessible terrain, on a very, very challenging terrain. And we went out to this 1 month in Turkey, and I saw, first of all, the Trekker was absolutely amazing. My father was glowing from this whole experience, and the friends that came to volunteer to help us, they went through this amazing process themselves, and I saw that this is what I'm going to do with my life, and I started Paratrek, and here we are.
Here we are. So you started, like a lot of us, with a personal experience, you and your father and your family and your friends going on a trip, but then you built an operation. And again, since the theme of today is doing good as a mindset, the mindset that is required for doing good, can you share with us the mindset that you brought into this operation in order to scale it and made it available for so many others?
Yes, so I think that what we did is to understand what we can do with the tracker that we developed and bringing people with and without disabilities together to nature. And when I got to think about it, I actually understood that the mindset that I need to be in is to understand the impact my work is doing. And not only the impact, but the circles around it. How many circles or what big they are, and always to aim to scale those circles of impact that our job is making. And I always aim to new, high, impossible goals. This is what I think the mindset should be, to aim to impossible goals and to achieve them one after the other. This is how we work in Paratrek.
Fantastic. So basically, but you've been doing this for quite a few years. So how old were you when you took your dad on the trip?
I was 25 years old.
25.
Today 37, yes.
37. Okay, so you've been doing it for 12 years. How do you keep going?
Well, I think the most important thing is to have a precise vision, a very strong why. I think to dream big and always go back to that why, to that vision. And when you're focused enough, when it's the right vision for you, well, the answers are very, very clear. The next steps are very, very clear. For me, I know what's my vision. I know where I want to go. And what can I say? It's just easy.
Fantastic. All right. So again, we could have spoken much longer, and hopefully we'll get back to all of you in a few minutes. But we have a third guest today, which is Rami Kirshblum. Rami. So first of all, you're a little bit, I would say, different because you're running a company. And both Ahmir and Omer and myself were nonprofit. So you bring a different angle to this conversation, but you are running a do-good company. So first of all, let's start like everybody else, but telling us, sharing with the audience here, your story and the story of your company.
Yeah, very, would be happy to. So I'm super excited to be as part of this conference. I'm Rami, CEO and co-founder of Uniper, and Uniper is tackling one of the world's biggest challenges, loneliness among older adults. You know, it's all starting with a personal story. I was living in the States, in the East Coast. At that time, my brother was also living in the East Coast. And both my parents and my grandma were living back in Israel. And I visited Israel quite frequently. And every time I did that, I came to her house and I saw her sitting on the balcony, on the porch alone. And I felt bad about that. And during one of the times we were watching TV and there was a commercial about senior living. So I utilized the opportunity and told my grandma, I would feel very much comfortable if you move into such a facility because I'm not around, God forbid, and something happens. I cannot help. My brother cannot help. I think it's going to be good for you. She looked at me and very reactively said, Rami, I want to stay at home. And I say, why? Look at that. It's all everybody else socially and physically active. She said, I want all of that, but I want to stay at home. And that was the signal. How can you take the best of senior living and make it available at home using technology? Fast forward 8 years later, we established Uniper with the vision of allowing every person in the world to age in the place they call home, happy, healthy, and independent.
So Ahmir spoke about compassion, professionalism, the desire to scale, innovation, etc. And Omer spoke about passion and vision and really focusing on the why. What is the mindset that brings you to build such a company and to grow it? How do you keep going?
And that's a great question, Gidi. So I see a lot of similarity in that way. First, you need a lighthouse. For me, personally, the lighthouse consists of several angles. One is feeling, seeing, and touching the impact. So we have this practice in the company that we share moments. We have tens of thousands of older adults benefiting and enjoying on a daily basis from our service. And everybody that joins in the same moment, they share that in different groups that we have in the company, and you see the impact. That drives me more and more. Number two, you need a deep conviction that you're doing something that is going to change the world. I'm there. I think we are doing a revolution in the way people age at home. I think the world cannot continue more of the same. The budgets are getting lower, what the world is aging faster than the budget being allocated. So you need to find new ways to allow people to stay at home. It's good for everybody. There's alignment of interest. So that's the second mindset, the deep conviction. Number three, or the third item, is also related to the practice. We have core values around the companies that we have established. It's a statement, it's a commitment. Our core values are around together, inspire, excellency, and care. I'll give you one example. We truly believe in the power of community to create a better world. In the 1 + 1 = 11. Any feature we develop, any service protocol we put in place is being examined against the core values around the different stakeholders within the company. So implementing core values is a way to take your vision, your deep conviction, and the impact you can touch, feel on a daily basis, and basically implement that in a bigger organization under the same vision.
Great, fantastic. So basically, so you actually answered my next question as well, which is, how do you keep this mindset going? That gives us a few more minutes perhaps to go back to all of you. And I'd like to share to ask you a few questions based on what you said. And we're basically sort of 13, 14 minutes in. We have another 10 minutes to spend together. And I would love to give our audience really an insight to how the three of you are thinking about your initiatives and the kind of contribution that you are making to society through the platforms that you work in, which means the nonprofits and the company, Rami, that you lead. So first of all, I want to go back to Omer. Omer, in Paratrek, there is one, at least a dominant product that you have created in order to help the mobility of people in rough terrains. Can you walk us through the process of developing this product and perfecting it and making it the best that you can, and do it in a minute?
In a minute. 3, 2, 1, go. I think that what we had to do is to go back to the beginning. We had to go and listen to the need. I think that the biggest mistake in developing product or service is to come from this place or this spot of an expert, someone who knows, engineer or therapist, etc. And then you come and kind of drop your knowledge on the person you want to help, instead of listening and understanding their needs. And this is what we do. What we did. We went and made these 2 lists of our needs, of what we need to do. My father made his own list, and I did my own list. He did the list of what he wants to feel when he sits in the checker. He wants to be a part of it. He wants to be active. He wants to feel safe. And I, on the other hand, said I want to be close to him. I want to help him to balance. I want to be part of this something that we're going to do together, not something I'm going to do for him. And I think that when we took these 2 lists and went to industrial designer and mechanical engineer together and set together, they actually listened to the need knowers. And this is how we got this tracker, which is so ergonomic and so and fits people with physical disabilities perfectly. I think this is the process that what we had to do.
So I have to say that we in TOM, we also use the term need knowers, because these people, the people that have the needs, they have a tremendous amount of insight about, not just about the problem. A lot of times they have an insight about how to solve the problem. So the design team, the engineers, the programmers, the product designers, they should a lot of times begin with the insight of the need knower about the solution, not just about the problem. And I think we share that. But you're talking about, you're focused on human-centric design, which is key in our field. And I think this is also a major theme for Beit Issie Shapiro, and the work that you do with your I don't know what to call them, patients, customers, community members, and their families. And Ahmir, I'd like you to say a few words about you've built this really globally recognized entity. So how do you connect the personal and the situational and the specific case to a global project? How do you connect that project of modeling and then scaling?
I think, first of all, relating to what both of you just mentioned about the need knowers, they're part of the process at Beit Issie all the time. And also when we look at research and academic research, then we've developed a whole model of participatory research, where people with disabilities are part of the academic research process, helping us define the questions, define the research issues, and actually going out and doing the research together with the academic researchers. So from the stage of the research, it's all together with the people with disabilities that we're doing that. And once we have the research in place on our innovation and we know that it works and we have the evidence, then it's all about sharing with people with disabilities, sharing with other organizations the knowledge we have, so it's available to as many people as possible. We like to see ourselves really as an open source organization as much as we can. And then we go on to training as many professionals as possible with the knowledge that we've attained. And the final and I think most important part of the scaling model that we use is working for policy change. And that's also one of the things that makes Beit Issie unique, is that we're on the one hand working to innovate and to create new services and new technologies, but we're also a group of advocacy and social change. And that mindset all the time of social change is really what drives us forward and what drives our impact forward and drives it around the world in any new initiative that we take on.
Yes, I totally agree with you that this intersection between social innovation, which is innovation in how we organize people to get things done in institutions, in processes, and so on, is sometimes even more important than the technological innovation and the technical inventions that are created. And it's obviously always complementary, but everybody's focused on technical innovation. But actually, social innovation for the kind of things we're talking about is equally important and sometimes even more important. So I want to switch to Rami. Rami, actually, I want to tell you, to acknowledge that you should have 3x more time than all of us, because we're 3 nonprofits, you're 1 for-profit here on the panel. So I'd like to ask you the ultimate question for a for-profit that is serving good. And that is, how do you balance considerations of the price point of your service with the accessibility of your service? Because obviously, the cheaper the service and the product, the more accessible it is, but you're still a company and you have shareholders and you need to, you have a bottom line also, an economic bottom line. So how do you guys think about the unit economics of your service?
Yeah, first of all, that's a fantastic question. I think there's no conflict. I think not any organization, whether that's non-profit or for-profit, needs to have impact in mind. I think down the road, we'll see all for-profit organizations truly embrace that. We are not there, but that's going to be there. Now, Uniper is serving the ones that are left behind. We are focusing very much on the ones that are what we called medi-medi in the States, the duals. They are low income and older adults because they cannot afford, in most cases, paying for Uniper, so someone needs to pay on their behalf. In order to do that, we believe government, there's alignment of interest. It's good for the older adults, but it's also good for the government, it's good for society, it's good for the family members. If we are able to keep these older adults at home within the community on the expense of pushing nursing home and hospitalization away, it's a win-win-win for all sides. So I don't see a conflict. I see alignment of interest of all stakeholders. And now, while doing that, the price needs to make sense for the ones that are actually paying for that. So we are using research to show the effectiveness, the outcomes, the cost saving, and the satisfaction of the actual members. So we are embracing, obviously, using technology and as part of the service, different kinds of methods that are actually showing that while using Uniper, you're actually pushing nursing hospitalization away, your loneliness goes down, we improve your overall well-being. And, we didn't invent that. By being socially and physically active, your health is improved, your mindset is more positive, you want to continue, your healthy life expectancy is extended.
Of course.
So we are just good listeners to what everybody want, and we are connecting the dots. And it's very much aligned with also what our shareholders want, that we will be within many homes as possible. That's another win-win.
So we basically have 1 more minute, and I'd like to close and bring everything together. And I'd like to acknowledge the commonality about everything that you said, which is also my experience, and the mindset that drives the do good work. First and foremost, compassion, putting the person of need, the need knower in the center, responding to their need, working around their issues, working with them as a source of insight about the solution. And then, of course, everything that was mentioned actually by Ahmir, but also by Omer and Rami, which is professionalism, innovation, going to scale, driving forward. And the last thing I have to say, we happen to be a panel of 4 Israelis. And we are part of an ecosystem of Israelis that want to make the world a better place. And I'm emphasizing the world. We want to bring the message and the promise of innovations that are happening in Israel to people all over the world, across borders. And that's really fantastic to be a part of an ecosystem like that. I just say one thing from my perspective about Tom, and with that we'll close. And that is that one of the things that we have embraced is what is called moonshot thinking, which means we put ourselves the goal of helping 250 million people within a decade. Now, will this happen? Probably not. But the mindset that comes from moonshot thinking is a mindset that pushes you to all the time think about scale. Nothing we do, as was said earlier, is situational and one-off. Everything has to be modeled. Everything has to be scaled. And I think that ultimately, when we move into 21st century, deeper into the 21st century, we can bring together the power of technology to help society in unprecedented ways. And it's really fantastic to be with the 3 of you today, with Rami, with Omer, with Ahmir, and to be discussing these things. And I'm really grateful for this conference, for Goodstock, for allowing us this opportunity. So thank you guys very much, and I hope to see you in real life, in person soon.